Hello and welcome to the trailer episode for After the Apocalypse. This is Chris, the creator and writer and producer of the show, and this story is about survivors of a 21st century plague that has catastrophically wiped out 90% of the population. And it follows their adventures and challenges as they try to survive and rebuild, all while the forces of chaos and human nature assault them. And this will be a serial podcast, with each episode being a chapter in the story. And the podcast will launch with a series of shows in January of 2021. So please subscribe on your favorite pod-catching app to get the shows as they are released, or visit our website at aftertheapocalypse.me for more information or inquiries. And as you listen through this trailer episode, feel free to reach out with any comments or suggestions. I'm all ears, and I hope to have a lot of fun with this, and I really am thankful for you listening. So enjoy.
The afternoon sun slanted warm across the river's surface. The water was high from the recent rains, and a muddy hue swirled in the shallows. Early mayflies prickled the surface here and there, and lazy ripples hinted of fish and dorsal fins. A cottonwood tree trailed its branches into the flow, creating a rip in the otherwise placid waters. In the low hiss of water, sounds of a man cleared his throat. "How long you been here?" the teenager asked. The old man leaned back, cleared his throat again, pulled aside the protective gauze of his mask, and spat, "Couple months now." He eyed the younger soul with a mix of weariness and caution. The boy continued, leaning back into a fallen tree, feigning disinterest, looking carefully sideways at the old man with shaded eyes. "You must have seen a lot in your time. You must have been here in the before times." For the boy knew that the older ones liked to talk about the before times. Maybe he could get this surly old one off his guard. "Yeah, I was there." The old man relaxed a bit and readjusted the weight of his wiry frame like a gymnast limbering up. "I was up north when it began. I worked my way down here where it's warmer in the winters, after the first wave passed. It got pretty weird. Once the system got pushed beyond its limits, things got bad fast." He eyed the boy and gestured with a shrug to a partially collapsed, burnt-out building tipping into the river a few kilometers downstream. "A lot of people died." He finished as if to say, "That's all I have to say." But the boy wouldn't let it rest and pulled the thread. "I heard there was the dying, and then those that was left took to killing each other." The old man shrugged. "Once the supply chain broke down, it was a zero-sum game. Take a place like New York City. You had 20 to 30,000 people per square mile, and no way to keep them fed. Starving, dying people don't act reasonably." He looked out over the water. "It sorted itself out." The boy looked over the man's shoulder, eyeing the house and then back at the man himself. "What did you do back before, mister?" A sharp look. "It doesn't matter, boy. I was fast and smart enough to make it out into the country and stay alive. We covered 100 hard miles that first day and got out of the trouble. Those that couldn't run stayed and died. We ran and lived." His eyes clouded over with the faces of ghosts. The boy adjusted his dirty mask and casually moved his hand toward the hilt of his machete, as if brushing off a bit of dirt. "You got anything to trade, mister?" I have some dried fish and squirrel, plus some sweet marsh plant that makes a pretty good stew. I'll feed you, kid. I have what I need here, but I'm not looking for company. I won't say no to a meal, mister. You've got a pretty good setup here. I survive. Thanks, mister. Let me cut some wood for a fire, the boy said, smiling and unsheathing the big knife and shouldering his way casually forward. The old man rolled quickly over the log he was seated on. Landing on his feet, he took off running along the sandy shingle of the river. Come back here, you son of a bitch, yelled the teenager, taking off in pursuit. The old man settled into a hard pace, his homemade cleated sandals biting firmly into the soft mud. The boy was close on his heels, swearing and slipping. A well-traveled trail opened on the left, and the old man had disappeared into the forest and up a steep, loose, rocky climb. The kid was pretty good and was staying close. Others had given up at the sight of the big climb. The man breathed deeply, filling his lungs, willing his heart to push blood down to soothe the burning in his thighs. 3 more stilted strides pushed him over the crest, and he shook out his arms, unfolding his lanky frame for the long descent along the ridge. He could hear the kid about 25 meters back, now struggling up the loose slope. He relaxed his form and balanced his body against the downhill with long, quick strides. Through a cedar thicket and back out onto the beach, he pushed hard now for the house. He rounded a corner and reached for where he knew it would be. The kid was breathing hard when he came into view. He looked quite surprised, eyes wide behind his mask, as the old man settled his breathing and released the crossbow bolt. The old man scratched his scraggly beard and considered the kid laying on the ground, blowing bubbles of blood around the corners of his mouth. It wouldn't be long now. The old man hated to do it. He was supposed to save lives, not take them. But in this new world, after the apocalypse, the rules were different. It was every man for himself. Even so, something old and familiar felt sick inside of him. The kid had stopped breathing. He'd gone to meet his ancestors, had been added to the great pile of bones that was humanity's legacy. What did the old man care? Why should he mourn one more death on top of millions that had recently been rubbed out of existence? But still, it bothered him. Sure, it was him or the kid, but what was so special about him? One old man surviving in the apocalypse. What did it even matter? One more day, one more week? In the great chaotic calculus of the universe, maybe that kid deserved life more than the old man. Maybe he just snuffed out a future leader, the great savior who would rebuild humanity. The old man shook himself out of his thoughts. It was done. He looked around the shed he'd been squatting in and saw the old medals hanging on the wall, some sort of race medals achieved by the previous resident. The old man had a box full of similar medals somewhere in a forgotten lifetime. The old man considered it for a moment. He took a medal from the hook, stooped, and hung it around the boy's neck. He dragged the body to the river's edge and rolled it into the swiftly flowing stream.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to the trailer episode of After the Apocalypse. Make sure to subscribe and tell your friends. Regular episodes will be dropping in January. The story is written and produced by Chris Russell. That's me. The show is narrated by Robert Weinheimer. The music is by Bobby Quinn. Their links are in the episode and show notes. You can find out more about the show at our website at aftertheapocalypse, all one word, .me. And as we get going with the show, you'll be able to help us survive the financial storms of the apocalypse by becoming a patron through Patreon. You can also help us save the survivors of humankind by leaving a 5-star review in your favorite podcast app. Don't forget to tell your friends. Until next week, thank you for listening and keep surviving.